The strange village. My name is Jason, and I just moved to this strange village that my parents found online. At first, I was excited about the move because it meant a fresh start in a new place, away from the big city. But as soon as we arrived, I felt a sense of unease. The village was nothing like what I had imagined. The streets were narrow, and the buildings were old and rundown. The people looked at us with suspicion, as if we were not welcome. I felt like an outsider, like I didn't belong there. But the worst part was the rules. As soon as we arrived, our landlord gave us a list of rules we had to follow. We were not allowed to go out after dark, and we couldn't leave the house before sunrise. We had to keep the doors and windows locked at all times, and we couldn't make too much noise. We weren't even allowed to talk about the ghosts and entities that supposedly haunted the village. At first, I thought it was a joke, but my parents took it seriously. They said that the rules were for our safety and that we had to respect the beliefs of the locals. I didn't know what to make of it, but I knew that something was not right. The first night was the worst. I had trouble sleeping, and every noise made me jump. I heard strange whispers coming from outside the window, and I felt like something was watching me. I tried to wake my parents up, but they were fast asleep. I felt alone and scared, and I wished I had never come to this place. The next day, I tried to explore the village, but every street looked the same. The locals eyed me suspiciously, and I felt like I was being followed. I saw strange symbols painted on the walls, and I heard stories of people who had gone missing. I didn't know what to believe, but I knew that I had to be careful. As the days went by, I started to notice things that I couldn't explain. I heard strange noises coming from the cellar, and I saw shadows moving in the corner of my eye. I felt like I was being watched, even when I was alone. But the worst part was the feeling of dread that hung over the village. It was like a thick fog that never lifted. I felt like something bad was going to happen, like the future was dark and uncertain. I tried to talk to my parents about it, but they dismissed my concerns. They said that it was just my imagination, and that I needed to give the village a chance. But I knew that something was not right, and I was afraid that I would never be able to leave this place. As the sun set on my first month in the village, I realized something that filled me with horror. I was not alone. Something else was here with me, something that was not human. I felt its presence everywhere I went, like a shadow that followed me wherever I went. I knew then that I had to get out of this place, but I didn't know how. The rules had trapped me, and the darkness had consumed me. I was afraid that I would never see my family again, that I would be lost forever in this cursed village. And then, as the clock struck midnight, something happened that would change my life forever. The ground shook beneath my feet, and I heard the screams of the damned. The veil between the living and the dead had been torn, and I knew then that I was not safe. I had to leave. I had to get out of this village before it was too late. But first, I had to face the horrors that waited for me in the night. I had to fight for my survival, for my freedom, for my life. The night was dark, and the howling of the wind filled my ears. The old, abandoned house loomed before me, looking like a black silhouette against the night sky. I knew I shouldn't be here, but something drew me to the place. As I entered the house, I felt a chill run down my spine. The air was thick with the smell of decay, and the floorboards creaked beneath my feet. I heard strange whispers coming from the shadows, and I knew that I was not alone. I explored the house, room by room, and what I found there filled me with horror. The walls were covered with strange symbols, and the furniture was old and dusty. I felt a sense of dread, as if something terrible had happened in this place. As I reached the top of the stairs, I saw a figure in the distance. It was a woman, dressed in a flowing white gown. She was standing in front of a mirror, staring at her own reflection. I called out to her, but she didn't respond. When I got closer, she disappeared into thin air. I knew then that the house was haunted, and that I had to leave. As I turned around to go back down the stairs, I felt a hand on my shoulder. I turned back, but there was nobody there. I ran out of the house, feeling like something was following me. I was walking back home from the grocery store when I saw her. She was standing in the middle of the road, a ghostly figure dressed in white. I rubbed my eyes, thinking it was my imagination, but when I looked again, she was still there. I approached her, calling out her name, but she didn't respond. She just stood there, staring at me with empty eyes. I felt a chill run down my spine, and I knew that she was not human. As I got closer, she vanished into thin air. I stood there, rooted to the spot, wondering if what I had seen was real. I felt like I was losing my mind, like I was being consumed by the darkness of the village. I overheard some locals talking about a secret society that existed in the village. They called themselves the Brotherhood and claimed to have access to ancient knowledge that gave them power over the unnatural forces that haunted the village. I decided to investigate, and after some digging, I found their hideout. It was an old, abandoned church on the edge of town. I approached the church, feeling nervous and excited. As I stepped inside, I saw a group of men gathered around a large table. They were dressed in black robes and were performing a ritual. I hid behind a pillar, watching in horror as they performed unspeakable acts in the name of their secret society. I knew then that the Brotherhood was not to be trifled with. I made a note to stay away from them, for fear of what they might do to me. The forest was dark and foreboding, and I knew that going in there was a mistake. But I couldn't help myself. I felt like I had to know what was lurking in the shadows. As I walked deeper into the forest, I heard strange noises coming from all around me. I saw strange lights in the distance, and I felt like someone or something was following me. I heard a twig snap, and I turned around to see who or what had caused it. But all I saw was darkness. I felt like I was being consumed by the forest, like I was becoming part of it. And then, as I reached the heart of the forest, I realized what was waiting for me. The trees came alive, their branches reaching out to grab me. The ground shook beneath my feet, and I heard the laughter of demons. I knew then that I had to get out of the forest before it was too late. I ran as fast as I could, dodging trees and dodging demons. And when I finally saw the light at the edge of the forest, I felt like I had been saved. I woke up one morning, feeling like something was not right. I felt a strange presence in my room, and I heard strange whispers coming from the shadows. As I got out of bed, I felt something wrap itself around my neck. I couldn't breathe, and I felt like I was being choked. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I knew then that something had possessed me, and that I had to fight it. I concentrated, focusing on the light and pushing the darkness back. And finally, after what felt like hours, I was free. I knew that I needed help, and so I sought out the services of a local priest. He performed an exorcism on me, and for a moment, I felt like I was saved. But it only lasted for a short time. The darkness returned, stronger than ever. And I knew that I had to fight even harder to escape it. One day, I overheard my parents talking to another family in the village. They were planning to sacrifice me to the demon that haunted the village, in exchange for their own safety. I felt betrayed and hurt, like my own family had turned against me. I knew then that I had to leave the village, even if it meant leaving my family behind. I packed my bags, determined to escape the darkness of the village. I snuck out of the house in the dead of night, heading towards the train station. As I walked, I felt like something was following me, something that didn't want me to leave. But I kept going, focusing on the light at the end of the tunnel. Finally, after what felt like hours, I reached the train station. And as the train pulled away from the station, I felt like I had escaped the darkness that haunted the village. But I knew that I would never be the same again, that the darkness would always be a part of me. And as I looked out of the window at the passing scenery, I knew that the horrors of the village would haunt me for the rest of my life.